During the late Classic period, between the years 600 and 900, Maya society was at the zenith of its cultural and architectural splendor. Its rulers were more powerful than they had ever been before. And despite the constant warfare, there was little indication that within a short time, the whole system would fold in on itself. It is generally known that in the 9th and 10th centuries, the Maya world as it was then collapsed, never to revive. The cities were abandoned, and the Maya returned to a more modest rural lifestyle, which many still practice today. But what is not generally known is that, although this collapse was widespread, it was not universal. There were some Maya cities that survived, and survived for a long time. And today I'm going to show you 2 of them. We'll talk about what happened during the period of the collapse, why some urban centers lived on, and for how long. The site of ancient Chinkultic lies in the eastern Chiapas highlands on the Comitan Plateau, near the modern town of Comitan, not far from the Mexico-Guatemala border. Chinkultic is small, but it occupied a strategic frontier location at the southwestern boundary of Maya civilization, which made it crucial for territorial control, and its interaction with neighboring peoples from the highlands of Guatemala helped bring foreign goods into the Maya world. Positioned between Lake Tepanquapan and Lake Chanuhabab, the city never lacked for water. There's a river now known as the Naranjo, which flows between the 2 lakes, and it divided the city into a northern and southern half, possibly representing some kind of division between social groups or cosmological zones. The site lies within the beautiful Lagunas de Montabello National Park. Locals come here to take in the scenery, but foreigners are rarely seen this far out. The earliest evidence for human occupation at Chinkultic dates to the late pre-Classic period, around the 3rd century BCE. But it was during the Classic period, beginning around 250 CE, that Chinkultic transformed from a modest settlement into a significant regional center. Like most Maya sites of this area, Chinkultic experienced its greatest development during the late Classic period, particularly between the years 700 and 900. This was a time when a branch of the Chan Ahau royal lineage arrived and established control here. They ruled for about 3 centuries. The core of Chinkultic contains approximately 200 mounds, representing structures ranging from small domestic platforms to massive pyramidal temples. We're entering Group C in the southwestern part of the site, which contains a large concentration of carved monuments. Note the finely cut limestone blocks. Oh, you can see something here.
Right. We're gonna watch the game. Take a look at this. You have like it almost looks like a stela baked into the step. The step has carvings on it.
Oh yeah.
See that?
They're hard to see, huh? But they're there.
Feather headdress. It looks like it's going down the long way.
This ball court has a narrow playing alley that would require exceptional skill and precision by the athletes. It's interesting that the end zones are asymmetrical. For what reason, I don't know. The most famous artifact found at the site comes from the ball court. It is known as the Chinkultic ball player marker, and it's now at the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. To be fair, it was found at the nearby site of La Esperanza. How it got there, we don't know, but this is its original location. It's a beautifully carved stone disc showing a ball player in typical game attire in mid-action. A band of 12 glyphs surround the figure. They give us a Maya long count date corresponding to May 19th, 591. That happens to be 2 days before this ball court was officially dedicated. We know that from another inscription. The inscription refers to a lord associated with the Chan Ahau dynasty. This dynasty is identified by its emblem glyph, and the name means either Sky Lord or Serpent Lord. Chinkultic was possibly the paramount center of the Chan Ahau dynasty, who probably had subordinate polities in the area, or a network of allied branches of the same royal family. With approximately 40 carved stelae, Chinkultic has one of the most substantial collections of classic period hieroglyphic inscriptions from the eastern highlands. These monuments date from 591 to 897, documenting almost 3 centuries of political stability. Yeah, more red, huh?
I thought that was the blue that lasted.
It did, but maybe they didn't use blue on here. I don't know. One of the distinctive elements of the portrayals of the rulers of Chinkultic is they love to dress up in the warrior garb, even more so than some of the other cities. So you'll see a good example of that here. I don't know if we can make out his name, but the regalia that he's wearing is very much associated with warfare, the military.
I've got 2 hours. 2 other places.
Okay.
And 2 hours back.
Look at this, huh? Immediately south of the river, Yub Naranjo, is Group B, which contains the sunken plaza. Hear me, all my countrymen. The vast seating area around the plaza suggests this was a venue for public spectacles and ceremonies. Note the viewing platform in the upper middle section, probably for the ruler and high-ranking nobles. We found a cave entrance nearby. The limestone bedrock was honeycombed with caverns, many of which contained pools and underground rivers. The Maya viewed these caves as entrances to the underworld and places where communication with the supernatural world was possible. I guess that's the older bridge underneath the newer bridge. As we headed over the river and into the northern section of the city center, we made our way up a steep hill towards the Acropolis.
A lot of nice trees.
That is the Agua Azul Cenote, a natural sinkhole approximately 164 feet deep. Cenotes were believed to be portals to the underworld. Natural terraces led down into it, which gives the impression of a stairway going down. The city name, Chinkultic, means stepped cenote. Yes, it was named after the Agua Azul. At least 2 temples were constructed on the cenote rim, and archaeologists found offerings within the waters. Here we are at the top of the Acropolis, and the view up here is amazing. This is the major religious site of this city, and it's built right next to the cenote down there, the Agua Azul cenote. It's about 50 meters deep, that cenote, but they believed it was sacred, the cenotes, because they were perhaps an entrance to the underworld. And there were 1,000 steps that they had to climb to get all the way up here. Can you imagine that? We think that stairway probably represented the passage of the sun from beneath the earth up into the sky. And this area was very sacred. It's got your main stepped pyramid here, some subsidiary structures. They did find some tombs, elite tombs beneath a couple of the altars here, but they were from the early post-classic period, maybe 1200s or so, and it shows that when the site stopped being used for ceremonial purposes, at least the elites wanted to be buried here because they thought the site was sacred. Joyce, our 89-year-old woman, she made it all the way up here. She was determined, even when we kind of discouraged it. On our way out, we caught sight of an overgrown mound called the Pyramid of the Slab Stones. It doesn't look like much now, but this building contains Mesoamerica's largest cut stone building blocks. Unlike most major Maya centers in the southern lowlands that were abandoned around 900 during the classic Maya collapse, Chinkultic continued to be occupied until the 13th century, making it one of the few Maya sites in the region to survive into the post-classic period. The practice of erecting hieroglyphic monuments did cease after 900, which suggests a change in political organization at that time. In a bit, I will explain why it survived when the others did not. But first I need to show you another city that lived on past the Maya collapse. On the drive between the 2 Maya sites, we found a great little restaurant called Los Carmelos. I recommend stopping if you ever come by this way. Look at that, huh?
drink.
Not far from Chinkultic, and actually closer to the city of Comitan, lies the site of Tenam Puente, which sits on a high elevation and commands a panoramic view across the Comitan plain. The name Tenam Puente is a mixture of Nahuatl and Spanish and means something like fortified bridge. Nobody knows its original Maya name. Like Chinkultic, Tenam Puente survived the Maya collapse, and it continued to be occupied into the post-classic period. For some weird reason, no video cameras are allowed on site, so everything you see here was shot on my phone. Although ceramic evidence suggests possible late pre-classic occupation, this Acropolis began to be constructed during the early Classic, between 250 and 600. But major modifications and expansions took place in the late Classic, between 600 and 900. Recent excavations have revealed that the main plaza served as a marketplace, beginning in the late Classic period. The city was a major commercial center, controlling trade routes between the highlands of Chiapas and Guatemala and the Central Depression. They brought in exotic materials from the Gulf Coast, the Soconusco region, and distant Maya cities. It's interesting that the market is directly below the Acropolis. This suggests elite surveillance of marketplace activities and possibly tax collection. The east side of the plaza is where public ceremonies took place, and there are the remains of a ball court. The ruins of an attendant house, which probably stored equipment and sheltered ball players, sits adjacent. A deer bone fragment found inside was carbon dated to the late Classic period. Remember that as we go up, we enter into progressively more restricted areas, reflecting both the social hierarchy and defensive considerations. The most sacred and exclusive spaces are at the top. The main facade of Building 29 apparently was once covered with mottled stucco depicting Venus and symbols associated with death and sun gods, but it is much deteriorated now. A stela was found in front of the stairway with traces of reddish paint on it. The city Acropolis is built on several terraces, so exploration requires steep climbs up more than 100 steps. The ancient builders transformed a natural hill through massive earth-moving projects and leveled these terraces at different heights with monumental retaining walls. The architectural style here, as in Chinkultic, is in the Chiapas highland tradition. They didn't build with elaborate decorative elements like corbel vaults, roof combs, and intricate facade sculptures, which is characteristic of lowland Maya architecture. It may simply be a different tradition, or maybe it had to do with resources. These buildings use dry stone masonry, featuring precisely cut limestone blocks, with no mortar between them, and they were once all faced with lime stucco. This place is even more amazing than I thought it was going to be. We are here at edifice number 7, structure 7 here. This is one of the best step pyramids here on site. And look at that, we're going to go up in a second. But there was a stela that was right here, as you can see at the bottom, but the stela now is at the Tuxtla Gutierrez Museum. We think the stela belonged here. And that stela has a date on it of 790 CE, so this is when we think that this pyramid was probably inaugurated. But let's go up to the top and see how it looks. Who needs a drone shot? This pyramid rises about 75 feet, 23 meters, above the third terrace platform. Everyone down below would probably have had a good view of the ceremonies performed up here and have seen the smoke from incense burners for miles. The building here, structure 20, contained the tomb of one of the site's rulers, but it's closed off to us. On the same level as ball court number 2, considerably smaller than the one down below, it retains unequal playing alley sections characteristic of highland Chiapas ball courts, like we saw at Chinkultic. Up we go to the next terrace. Here is the city center's third ball court. This place has more ball courts than any other site in the Comitan Valley or neighboring regions. Being higher up, this one would be the most restricted of the three. You could only get to it from restricted staircases from the lower terraces. It's also the smallest. This is Plaza B. Structure 17 is the main temple of Plaza B. Being the eastern terminus of the east-west axis, it probably was a place for important ceremonies. From the top, you can see all the way down to the marketplace. The plaza itself served as an administrative center of some kind. Finally, up to the highest section, the fifth terrace. Here in Plaza C sits Structure 14, just a partially preserved platform. Locals, you see, make an annual pilgrimage here in May, when the rainy season is about to begin, to pray for sufficient rain and a successful harvest. Here on the same level is Plaza D. The building there with 3 stairways is structure 42. It may have supported multiple buildings on top. This also is believed to have been an administrative center of some kind. Located around the edges of the monumental core were elite residences, alongside crop fields and probably workshops. Tenam Puente, Chinkultic, and the nearby sites of Tenam Rosario, Santa Elena, and Poco Huinic all survived the critical period when most Maya lowland sites were abandoned. In fact, Tenam Puente flourished in the post-classic period, lasting as late as 1200, after which it too was abandoned. Before I tell you about the Maya collapse, let's go take a look at some of the artifacts found at both Chinkultic and Tenam Puente, just to give you a fuller picture. Buildings are one thing, but the smaller objects are fascinating in their own right.
Got some character, huh?
The Comitan Archaeological Museum is downtown. It's a very nice area with shops and restaurants.
This is really cool.
The museum contains several recovered stelae and sculpted monuments from Chinkultic. These are fragments of captive sculptures found in the ball courts. That's an effigy urn. Effigy urns are fascinating, and I'll tell you more about them in our next episode. Here are some ceramics that were found at Tenam Puente. The captive sculptures look a lot like the ones we saw at Tonina. So here are these 2 cities that survived well beyond the general collapse of Maya urban society in the Terminal Classic period. But why? Well, I suppose I first have to tell you about the Maya collapse and what it was all about. And while I tell you, I will show you some of this gorgeous country called Mexico. The next day, we made our way westward to see Sumidero Canyon. It's probably the most amazing and beautiful place we saw on this trip. And we didn't see it looking down from the top, but from the bottom, on the Grijalva River itself. We booked a 1-hour boat tour, and it took our collective breath away.
The Sumidero Canyon is the symbol and the coat of arms of the state of Chiapas.
Ah, okay.
Martin, all right. We're on a boat cruising up the Grijalva River. It's an amazing experience.
Crocodile on the beach.
Is there a crocodile?
Yep.
Oh yeah, look at.
Oh, what do we got?
Okay, so the Maya collapse. The first thing you should know is that the Maya collapse was not caused by any one factor, but multiple stresses interacting in such a way that it created a cascading series of failures. The initial trigger was severe drought episodes beginning around the year 820. Paleoclimate research has shown that the Maya world experienced a series of multi-year droughts interspersed with wetter periods. Now, the Maya had developed sophisticated water management systems to cope with seasonal variation in rainfall, but these droughts were too much for the systems. I mean, They tried innovating. Catchment systems were created, reservoirs were built, but these depended on seasonal rainfall, and it just wasn't coming. Now keep in mind here that Maya rulers had monopolized the water sources during the usual annual droughts. It was a way for them to exact tribute from subjects. But when rulers couldn't ensure water supply or agricultural success, their claims to divine sanction were called into question. This, in turn, would have led to political instability. We expect there were revolts by the common people. Factionalism appeared among the elites. Polities began warring over water. States fractured. This would have disrupted trade networks, so the economies would have suffered. If a city was no longer able to sustain the populace, people would have been emigrating to places where it was easier to survive. This likely explains the abandonment of cities. Due to the length of the period of droughts, the collapse wasn't followed by the development of new political orders, as may have happened in the past. But we have to keep in mind that the southern lowlands had it the worst. Major cities like Tikal, Calakmul, and Caracol completely collapsed and never recovered. In the northern lowlands, up Yucatan Way, the droughts were less severe, so some places lived on into the post-classic period. Chichen Itza, for example. But why were things better in the highlands? Highland zones often had richer, thicker volcanic or alluvial soils that supported more reliable agriculture. They were less vulnerable to the severe droughts. Sites in the highlands also were frequently located in naturally defensible positions, making them harder to overrun amid warfare or instability. Proximity to trade routes connecting to other areas allowed access to commodities they needed. But to be clear, there was even here a breakdown of the Kuhul Ahau, Divine Lord system of rulership with its emphasis on monuments and water control. The highland sites reorganized around different power structures without total societal failure. Some Maya cities even lasted until the time of European contact. Our next episode is going to be all about another Mesoamerican civilization, that of the Zapotecs. We will be venturing into the state of Oaxaca to visit the great sites of Monte Alban, Atzompa, and Mitla. If you don't know much about the Zapotecs but would like to, this will be the video for you.